Welcome back to our lesson. This time we're going to have another problem, and the problem that we're going to focus is on the matrix. So I decided to come up with this kind of problem, which is about the matrix, and we're going to find the smallest and the largest number in the list. Okay, let's get started. In this problem, we're going to find the largest and smallest number in the list, which is entered by the user. And then we're going to display as well those numbers in a matrix format. And then we're going to identify which one is the smallest and which one is the largest. Before diving into decoding, let's try to analyze first the output, the sample output. Okay, if you can see here on the right side, my sample output here, wherein the user was asked to enter the number of rows, which I entered 3. And then in the number of columns, I also entered 3. After that, I entered the numbers 1 to 9. And we need to determine one by one on how are we going to interpret the one indicated here, which is the 0 and 0. So this is an example of two-dimensional array. Okay, let's say if you're going to enter 1, now if you're going to put it in a table, then just like in a multiplication table, well, this is in the index 0 for the row and index 0 for the column. Since we're going to create a 2 by 2, I mean two-dimensional array. Okay, now next is if we're going to enter the number 2 as our second value, it will be inserted in the 0 by 1 in our dimensional table or array. But then if you're going to interpret this into a multiplication table, we're going to say it's a 0 by 1. Now next number, which is the 3, if we're going to enter number 3, it will be plotted in our table as 0 then 2 column. Okay, next is for the 4, where it should be under the row 1 and which column, which is in column 0. Same thing with number 5, so it's under in the 1 for our table. And how about the 6? So 6, it's 1 and 2 for our dimensional array. So if you're going to write a program or by just simply calculating this using a pen and paper, it would be just easy because you just have to plot it. But then in programming, you need to determine where you're going to put it. Just like what we have here in our matrix, which is these numbers 1 to 9 need to be displayed in a matrix, and for us to do that, we need to create our dimensional array. Okay, let's proceed for numbers 7. So 7 will be plotted in under 2 for our row, and which column? It will be under 1. I mean, yes, I mean for 7 that's 2, 0. And now let's proceed to number 8. For number 8, it's in the row 2, okay? And then which column? Column 1, okay? Now for 9 values, it is in the 2 rows and for column 2. So this 0, 1, 2 representing our values that we entered for the rows. This one, which is supposed to be, this is 1, 2, 3, but since we are using an array, we have to count it as 0, 1, 2, 3. Same thing with the columns, where we have entered here as 3. That's why we have here 0, 1. So this is for the row, and this is for the column part. Okay, so same process. Therefore, if you're going to enter here 4 and then 4 by 4, then it will further ask for another values. It means it will add up another column in here and another row in here as well added. Okay, so it will be added as well like that. In case if you had a 4 by 4, enter your values. Okay, now if we're going to look at in our code here, we need to assign the or declare some variables, and since we need to find the high and low, okay, here this is for the high and low, and the I here is actually for the row, and the J is for the columns. And what I'm saying is for the iteration part, this one is for the iteration of our row, and this one is the iteration for our column. Okay, for our row, and this one is for our column iteration, our loop. Okay, this one is for our column looping. Okay, in this start M. Here the M is for the rows. We want to how many number of rows, and then the N is for how many number of columns. Okay, once that you will enter them this value, so the M here will now be entered. Example, a while ago in our example, we entered 3. Okay, next for our column, we entered 3 as well. That's why it will do a looping up to 2, because we have to start with 0, then 1, 2. Okay, that's how you're going to analyze on this part. Okay, where's the my code? Going back here and enter A, which is referring now to the values. Okay, this is for the row which started with 0 by 0 in our table, and it will go on to iterate till this is 0, 1, and then 0, 2. Then proceed with 1, 0, 1, 1, and so on. Okay, so here given matrix is because we want to display it in a matrix format like a table, we need to create another for loops. Okay, the one that you had seen where it looks like a table and there's a spiral matrix, and we have this code. Okay, now for the determining for the highest or largest number, we had to assign it to high, and for the lowest number, we're going to assign or create a variable named low. So therefore, it will try to iterate here and check one by one. Same process. try to compare from our row, okay, and then for our column. So here you need to have the condition, the comparison between the row and the column. All those numbers, all the elements will be compared, and then we need to assign it. Example, between the row and the column, identified one by one. So for this code, it will try to compare all the elements from top to bottom, okay, from left to right as well, okay, in this format. Same with the low, okay, and same value. So you need to do all the comparison. And that's why for this we're able to come up with our output. So this is just a continuation because there's no more space here, and it will also display either the high and the lowest value. So for this is the new one. Okay, so if you're going to look at into my code, actually I entered it a while ago in here using an online tool like that. Let me zoom in. Now just here, high and low. And by the way, we have to indicate here our maximum number for the size of our matrix, which is up to 10. Okay, this is size of our matrix. Now, if you're going to take a look at the output, so we have tried to compile it a while ago. That's why I got this output. Okay, so if ever we're going to run this one again, let's say I'm going to have 4, so it will be a long value. So it is 4 by 4, like that. Then it will be, asking me more numbers. So same process, I just have to enter all the values again. Example, here 3. Let me just finish up writing the code in here. 4, okay, oops, 5. Then I'm going to enter again 6, and I will be able to finish all in 8. You can put any values anyway. This is just for demonstration purposes, and what we are trying to do here just to illustrate on how you can use the matrix using a two-dimensional array. Okay, so I need to finish up filling up all the values here, and let's see how many values. Okay, 14. It's quite long, so I regretted to type it. I supposed to type 2 by 2. Why did I type 4 by 4? Now I'm having hard time typing all the numbers. See? So there you are. So we have this output. This is how it looks like. So I have the 16, highest element, and our lowest value is 1. So that's it for our code. And again, this is an example of what we call two-dimensional array. Okay. You can try to play around and replace the values and take a look and experience how to edit it and run a program. Okay, so that would be all for our part 5 example. See you around.